I want headpats from Frieren. I want Frieren headpats. Oh, especially after the end of episode 14 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Ugh, gut punch right there, right in the stomach, got me all teary-eyed. It's honestly something that they did really well at the beginning of the series, and it was this idea of Frieren realizing what she missed out on. The regrets of all the things that she didn't acknowledge for how great they were. Having friends, having bonds, all the journey they went on, everything this party did to sort of instill upon her these memories that she now cherishes. Add on to that love. It literally laid out all signs point to Frieren at the end of this episode realizing that Himmel loved her. She said, "Oh no, he didn't. He doesn't know what that ring meant." Oh wait, he did. It shows this little brief flashback of Himmel, and he grabs that ring and goes, "Oh, okay," and then literally does like this whole marriage proposal stance and put it on that finger and everything. I think Frieren realized it. I think at the end of this episode, she basically realizes that Himmel loved her. And it hurt. It got me all teary-eyed. And it doing it again. Such an oof moment at the end there. And it's all adding up to making that impact of what's possibly to come with Frieren finally arriving at heaven and seeing Himmel. God, what is she going to say? Is she going to say that she loved him? Is she going to say that she's sorry that she never seen that? There's so much... That conversation, if and ever that conversation happens, I just don't know. It's going to be a massive punch in the face. All that buildup. Or who's to say that they won't have a massively bitter end in the idea that they arrive there and it's not what they think it is. Maybe this whole thing is just Flammel pushing Frieren to go there is not really necessarily for her to see her party members, but actually to have a realization that she wanted to. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, Frieren Beyond Journey's End, episode 14 was fantastic. That whole segment is alone worth everything, but so much more in here, especially around Stark and Fern and what Sein is basically doing. Sein, I think at this point is, let's get into that. The episode opens up with Fern having an argument with Stark, being massive pouty face like she always is, kicking Sein in the shin. Fern totally going super immature pouty face, and it's super cute. But I like it because Sein right here is doing something I really wasn't expecting him to do. I was questioning that in the last episode. What is Sein going to be adding to this group? And it seems like he is, despite the fact that he's this corrupt priest, and everybody keeps making fun of the fact that he's a slime ball and everything. He's somebody that's actually worse than Heiter. He's actually turning into sort of somebody that is somewhat of an adult, that's human, unlike Frieren, that can give them some sort of guidance. As he points out at some point, Sein is talking to Frieren, and he's like, "Fern came to me." It's kind of odd that he points that out. Fern came to me for advice. Why wouldn't she go to you? What does she see in me? And that was obviously to open up the door to sort of Fern seeing Heiter and Sein. He's like, "What? Heiter is a great priest. Why would she come to me?" Well, obviously it's because Heiter isn't who you think he is. He was a lot different back in the day, but it goes in the idea that, yes, Heiter technically raised her, and she might see a little bit in Sein. And it's funny because in the previous episode, having that moment where it almost seemed like Fern was trying to, I guess, justify to herself why she would never trust Sein. And it's like, well, you're not Heiter, basically, because you gamble. But she went to Sein. And yeah, this little conversation where he basically points out to Fern something that Fern is doing to Stark. All the way up until now, it's constantly Fern saying how young and how childish Stark is. Well, Sein is the first person that can turn around to Fern and say, "You're kind of a child too." The way you treated him, yeah, sure, he forgot, but he's a child. He doesn't think about things like that. He's just a boy. And you kind of outlashing like that is childish too. You're both children, basically. You're both immature. Yes, technically Fern is getting up there, but she's still a child. And I think that's a lot to do with the environment that she's in. Frieren is not a good example she's a good example in the idea that she doesn't think about childish things too much. I mean, she's a dork. Let's be honest. She's a dork, but so are most adults. But for the most part, Frieren is pretty level-headed. But she's not instilling upon Fern, or Stark for the matter now, how to be adults and how to not treat each other. She's very hands-off whenever it comes to Fern, snapping at Stark or Stark outbursting back at her. She just kind of sits there. Sein is different. Because Sein immediately turned around and sort of, corrected Fern in that room, that's why she went to him. I've talked about this before in my novel analysis series for a certain series, which you'll probably know what it is. And this idea of sometimes people need that person that's willing to say no. There is sort of a comfort and a structure to somebody that can turn around and saying you're wrong, despite the fact that you don't want to hear it. But because Sein was able to say no to Fern and say that she was wrong, whereas Frieren is usually hands off, Fern went to him because he's a structure. And yes, there's a possibility that she sees that in Heiter, who was a structure to her. And that's what Fern kind of points out. You've changed a lot. Well, I've grown up. Well, yeah, I've been pretending because children need somebody that can guide them and show them the path they need to go and praise them. Fern needed an adult. So I've been faking it to the end. And I hope that I fake it all the way to the end until the goddess can praise me for it, which turned into Headpats. I'll praise you now. What do you mean? I don't think that you can understand a human, Headpat. That was actually better than I thought it would be. I'm going to go to the goddess and tell her that she should praise you too because, you did a good job. It was really great. I love that realization for Fern, that she can grow up too. And it all leads to Stark and Fern coming together. Cute little walk around the shop. I don't know. I still think that they're just massively... I don't know if it feels like it in the manga. I'll have to double check. I'll have to go through there and check it. But it just feels like at least the animators are really hitting on the two of them. Just cute puppy love kind of building up. Now, granted, I don't know if it's going to turn into something. Maybe it'll just kind of stay to this kind of relationship, almost like brother and sister. Or if it's something that, eventually kind of blossom into some sort of love through their adventures together and these kind of happenstance moments. Because what happens essentially is, yes, Stark accidentally buys her this bracelet that the two of them don't even know what it means, but it apparently means eternal love. And they find out from Sein later on that that's what it means. Stark's like, I didn't mean that. I don't know what it means. Yeah, you don't know what that means. You're an idiot. You don't know what it means either. What did you say? I'll buy you another one. I'm sorry. Don't ever say that again. You worked really hard to get this. I don't want to hear that. It's like, no matter what, Stark, you can't win. You just can't win this conversation. Just say, yes, I totally meant it. See if she blushes or not. Move on with your life. Again, it's kind of like, absolute puppy love. Because I don't see them romantic, of course. I see it being Fern is, like what Sein says, doesn't know how to handle people her age. Boys her age. She doesn't know how to handle it. She's always been around Heiter and Frieren. They're two adults. They're two older people. Doesn't know how to act around Stark. This is her first real kind of experience. And so she doesn't know how to treat him and doesn't know what those feelings are. And I like how Sein kind of points out the opposite. A boy his age being around somebody like you is really bad. You're messing with his emotions. The way you're treating him is making him completely confused as to what you want. He wants to fix whatever is happening here, and you keep pouting and not communicating, and it's messing with him. It's just a great little dynamic they're kind of building here as, Fern and Stark are feeling out they're basically growing up. They're figuring out their feelings, and no, it's not romance. I don't think it is. We all want to ship it. I want to ship it, but it's obviously not romance. It's discovering what relationships are and how to act around each other. And as they mature and as they, grow up, they're going to have those mixed feelings about how to interact with each other. Anyways, yeah, it's like I could talk for a million hours just on their relationship. I think they're doing a fantastic job of it. It's not pushing a romance. It's not pushing something. It's pushing feelings. It's pushing maturity into these characters. But no, parallel with that, of course, is the whole thing with Frieren, as yes, they get attacked by this bird that was going to bust them up against the wall. They're like trying to play out this whole plan. It's like, Stark, you could just jump. No, Eisen used to do that all the time. No, that would kill me. Eisen's not normal. We keep establishing Eisen is not normal. But yeah, she eventually jumps out of the carriage and blasts the whole bird and they fall and everything. But yeah, I like this because obviously she noted that the ring looks just like what Fern's did, was going to go look for it, and ends up losing it during this whole wreck. I thought, yes, admittedly, oh yeah, our town, we specialize in accessories, and I was planning on giving you a spell that can find accessories. It was super cheesy. Let's all be honest, the fact that he had a scroll that finds accessories was stupid cheesy. Admit it. I admit it. It was so rote in. It's the first time I can honestly say that was so rote. I mean, it makes sense, the idea that, yes, this is a place that all they do is sell accessories, and so people are coming in and out with accessories, and so, yes, having spells that will find accessories it makes sense, I guess. But yes, during that whole ordeal, she lost her ring and she was going out every night to look for it. And again, I think it's a lot to do with the fact that it became special in the fact that it was Himmel's. Now, she obviously admits, look, I have a lot of things from Himmel. I lose a lot of them. I'm used to losing things, and it just happens. But the moment that Fern finds out, it snapped into action. Fern was like, no, wait, that ring, Himmel loved you. It had that same design. You have to find this ring. It's super important, just like mine's important to me. We're all shipping that. Mine's important to me. It's got to be important to you. But no, it's just, I like how Fern reacted to that. Just rushed into action, tells everybody, no, look, we got to find this thing. We're not leaving until we find this thing. That is about love. Himmel loved you. It's about something more than just anything else you lose. And then, yes, she goes up there to use the spell, and oh gosh, the memories, pretty much acknowledging Himmel knew what the ring meant, going down on one knee, giving it to her, putting on her ring finger, and then her fighting the ring. It was just like, oof, punch the stomach, and then that smile at the end from Frieren. Aren't you glad that we actually looked for it? Yes. Like I said earlier, I just don't, it sucks. It sucks so bad to have that realization of love. And again, I think that's so much to do with the fact that Frieren was raised to not interact with others, to not make a name for herself. And that all culminated to that final moment that she can kill the Demon Lord. And then beyond that, then she can finally acknowledge people. And I think it was just too little too late for her to realize what was around her that whole entire time. But, and this might be a translation thing, it was kind of interesting how Himmel said that in that flashback. You did a really good job defeating the Demon Lord. Have whatever you want. Now, again, it's technically, yeah, he could turn to Eisen and say, you did a good job defeating the Demon Lord too. You pick one, something too. But it really does feel like Himmel telling Frieren, you did a good job killing the Demon Lord. It's going to my theory that I think that Himmel and all of them came there and they fought, and they probably fought off the Demon Lord for a bit, but none of them were going to kill him. It was Frieren that killed him because she was this, she got no magic. I'm going to focus on these guys. And then she blasted him. But we'll see. We'll see. The other really interesting bit was here is during that whole ordeal with the birds. I always love whenever we get into the mechanics and the magics of the world, but apparently kind of pointing out, yeah, technically something they've been hinting at for a while now, which is like the limitations of levitation and flying. Because we've had several moments where the characters like Fern is, dragging Stark off by, levitating him. Then later on in the snowstorm, not being able to do that because the winds were so strong. There's kind of like these hints of like the limitations of flying and, levitation. Even with flying, they were talking about this idea that they can only fly for so long. Back when Stark got bit, they're like, well, I can only fly for about 30 minutes. It just seems like, why is this so weak? You think that you can handle everything just by flying. Why travel through all these roads and dangers? Just fly. Well, apparently, it's because they haven't really figured it out yet, which is a nice little note to that. This idea that, yes, only 30 years ago, I think they said, 40 years ago, the demons ruled the airs because they were the only ones that could fly. But mankind mimicked their magic, learned how it's done, and they've been basically trying to adapt it. And they haven't truly figured it out yet. They have to take it apart and figure out the principles about how it works. Right now, all they're doing is copying it, so they can't improve it at all. So it makes sense as to why they have limitations to it. They can't just, levitate things that are larger than human size. They have these limitations to it because they're just copying whatever that limitation is. So it's kind of really interesting to see that there is an explanation of why there's limitations to it, and kind of opens the door to, yes, eventually they can actually improve it. It's just like the whole thing with Qual and the spell from him. They mimicked it, they figured out how it works, and then they made counters to it. So it's all about studying the magic and figuring out how it works. And it makes sense that a lot of this magic probably comes from the demons because each one of them has like the specialty that they master and they figure it out and they improve it completely in their lifespan. And the humans can see that and then mimic from them. Yeah, I like that little punchline at the end though. Why are you wearing a bracelet and save the design, Fern? Because Stark's an idiot. Well, that was me. That poor boy. Like I said, Sein should have been over there like, yeah, this is what I mean. You're messing with this boy. You're really messing with him. But I think another side of that whole backstory with Heiter really is around the idea of somebody eventually realizing that they do need to grow up. And it's, in a lot of cases, I think there's this misconception that growing up is just a choice and you just kind of, your mind changes or whatever. And I think it's really more of a thing of, like he puts it in this idea of, you know, I am still kind of a child. There's still things that I want to do. I mean, that's kind of the pinnacle point of somebody like me, you know, an otaku and stuff like that. I never let this stuff go. Even though, yes, most people around me are like, oh, that stuff you have to leave behind. Gaming and all that kind of stuff, you got to leave that behind. I think it's becoming more and more accepted, especially today for gaming anyways. It's becoming more accepted in the idea that a lot of people that are adults still like to game. They didn't want to give it up. But there is this kind of mindset that you have to give up everything and mature. I think everybody matures naturally, but the mindset around it, I think, is the key thing there. And yes, I do agree that sometimes you give off that facade that you're growing up because you want to create structure and praise and correct and guide children, younger individuals of the world. So it's not necessarily that he wanted to, and not necessarily that he did. He just faked it, which totally makes sense. He had to do that for Fern. He had to create that structure for Fern. But no, I love that scene on the roof with Sein and Frieren. Just that they're like stalking them. He does point out something interesting here in the idea of conflicts like that are something that people that are adults kind of avoid, which I sort of agree there in this idea that at some point you just realize it's not worth it. That's been my mentality, is that those kind of conflicts like that, it just kind of turns to a point where it's not worth it. And yes, sometimes it's worth it to the other individual, but sometimes you can't feed too much into that. But yeah, it's getting in the whole idea of relationships, and I love the little cracking jokes he makes about having to raise those 2 kids, and she's like, what do you mean by relationships? Understanding relationships? Never mind. 3 kids. But man, that animation, her like pushing her hair back, it's like, gosh dang it. There's so many like overly done animations that just absolutely punch me in the face out of nowhere. It's like, why that looks so good? Go back. Why does that look so good? And her kind of sliding down, her butt down on the roof there, head patting him at the end there. And I wish an older woman would do this to me. Actually, there's very few people that are older than me, so you should probably be happy. Like I said, I want Fern and Headpats. Yeah, all the scenes with Fern and Stark were super cute, though. Again, I want to ship them, but yes, I do understand it. A lot of it's just really kind of them understanding what relationships are. And I'm very curious if it'll eventually turn into something, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it might turn into one of those situations where it's going to be a Fern way in the future, finally looking at that wrist and going, maybe Stark did like me. Maybe Stark did doki doki. But he's gone now. But who knows? Anyhow, that's my thoughts on episode 14 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Absolutely fantastic episode, as always. Cannot wait for the next week. I wonder if they're actually going to take a break. They've already released the key art for the next arc, which does technically scare me, which is, slight spoilers, is the whole exam arc. And I'm like, you're calling it arc. When the moment they said arc, I'm like, oh gosh, it is going to be a school. I don't know, an exam could be different from a school, but still, I don't know. I hope it doesn't get too bogged down in that whole thing, but we'll see. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what's thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I did news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more and like this content, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly, 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 greatly appreciate everybody it does. It means so much to me, and y'all take care.